Hey, and welcome back to Self-Publishing Made Easy. Hopefully you've enjoyed the other videos. If you haven't seen them yet, check them out. Subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can see whenever I come out with a new video. The whole purpose of this series is to take all of the work I've done in the past 2 to 3 years to really figure out my process for self-publishing and to share it with you. So I'm not sharing every single tool that's out there. I'm not sharing every option that's out there. I'm sharing the ones that have worked for me, the ones that I've looked into, the ones that I've decided upon. And I now have a very clear process when it comes to self-publishing. So check it out. Please subscribe. And today we're going to talk about writing your blurb. This is the book description that you see when you go to your books page on, say, Amazon. It's what you put on the back of your book. It's how you advertise your book. It's the blurb. Now, I'm not going to dive deep into teaching you how to write a blurb because there are so many articles and videos out there on that very topic. I'll go over a few things that I've learned. And in fact, one of the pages that I'm going to show you, one of the tools that I use, has a free guide on how to write a blurb. But the bottom line is you want a blurb that catches people's attention. They read it and they want to pick up your book. The first thing a person sees is your book cover. They see your cover, they pick up the book, they turn around to the back and they read the blurb. And the blurb is what gets them to decide whether or not they're going to buy it or set it back down on the shelf. So you need a hook. You need something to interest them. It needs to tell them the genre. It needs to tell them what type of feelings or emotions or, what type of book is it? Are they going for romance? Are they going for thrills? Are they going for suspense? They need to be able to see that. They need to know the big problem or the big issue that your characters are dealing with or going through or trying to solve without giving anything away. It is not a summary of the book, and I think that's the biggest mistake that people make is they turn their blurb into a summary. Nobody wants a summary. That doesn't get you excited. It's marketing copy is what it is. I'm not saying that I'm perfect at it. I am constantly revising, and that's one great thing, especially about Amazon, KDP, and you can do it on Drafted Digital as well, but you can actually update your blurb. So you can try one, and if it's not selling, you can see people are going to the site, but they're not buying your book. You can revise your blurb and upload a new one, and I've done that as well. So you can play with that blurb. The more difficult thing is the blurb on the back of your cover. You would have to redo your cover and re-upload that, but that also is doable on KDP. You can do that, I think, as much as you want. Correct me if I'm wrong, everyone. Drafted Digital, you have the ability to do a free edit every, I think it's 90 days, otherwise you have to pay for it. So that blurb is something that you can update and play with until you get the sales copy just right. So today let me show you a blurb that I'm working on right now and one of the tools I use to help me work on it. So let's dive into it. All right, so here we have the beginning of a blurb that I'm writing for my new book. This is the book I've been working with throughout all of these videos, Rattlesnake Rock. And it is a thriller, but it's a little bit different because half of it takes place in the current day and half of it is a Western. Each chapter goes back and forth. So how do I portray that so people, when they pick up the book, they're not disappointed if they're looking for a present day thriller and suddenly they see there's Western or vice versa. I need to be able to explain that, but also explain what both are about and how they come together. It's really, I feel like it's harder for authors to come up with blurbs for their own books because there's so much they want to say. They've written, 65,000, 85,000 words, and it's really hard to bring that down into a couple of short paragraphs. So one thing that you'll see people recommend is do a couple of hook lines, a couple of lines that you can bold, because when you look up a book on Amazon, depending on your browser, whether you're on mobile or desktop, you don't see the entire blurb. You only see the top. So if you have a couple of sentences that really capture people's attention, you can put them in bold at the top. So that's why I've got these one-liners and then the actual blurb. So I think this is decent. It's not amazing. It's probably not the best blurb I've ever written or that's ever has been written, but this is my first draft of a blurb. Usually what I do is I send the blurb to my editor and let him look at it, and he's agreed. That's kind of one of the agreements that we have. And he, as someone who's read the entire book but doesn't have the emotional connection that I do as the author can really tweak it. So that's generally my first step. I haven't done that with this one yet. I actually just wrote this. So there we go with the blurb. Now I'm going to show you a tool. Now this tool is by the same people that Kindlepreneurs, Publisher Rocket, Atticus. So software tools I've shown you before. And again, I've looked in a bunch of different places, and these are tools that I've found useful, and they just happen to be by the same person. And he has a lot of training videos and guides as well. So you'll see that if you go, I'll put the link in the description to this book description generator, but he also has a free PDF that really talks about how to write a book description. Now, why would you use this description generator instead of just using, say, GPT or another AI program? Because that's what this is. This is using AI to create your book description. Now, if you remember, I told you in the past that you have to mark whether AI was used in creating your book. But that's the content of the book or the illustrations. That doesn't include, as far as I know, and again, correct me if you think I'm wrong, or if you want to discuss this, put it in the comments. I'm happy to discuss. But that doesn't mean the blurb or the this summary, not summary, but description. So the key to using AI is putting in the best prompts to get what you want to get. It's only as good as the prompts that you put in. So you can do it yourself, sure. Go to any AI program, your favorite one, and put in your rough draft of a blurb and tell you to spit one out. But the thing about this one is this is someone who has really studied how to make good descriptions, good blurbs, knows what needs to be there, and has already written all of the prompts to make that happen. So all the prompts are already there and done for you. So that's why I like to use this program. So basically, I'm going to take what I wrote, copy it, paste it in the generator. All right, the unformatted there, which is fine. And then generate. You tell it whether it's fiction or nonfiction, because that changes the prompts that are built in. So now AI is the one doing it. And again, here you can sign up to get your own formula to help you write them. Now you can use this AI generated description, or like I do, I just use it as basically a second draft or a guide. Okay. So these are some words that tend to work and spark people's interest. They've changed it up a little bit. So let's see what the first one says. Connected through time. All right. In the harsh and unforgiving desert, Rose's husband is bitten by a deadly snake, and their wagon train leaves them behind to fend for themselves near a standing rock. Undaunted, Rose fights to save her husband and their unborn child, facing extreme weather, outlaws, and Apache warriors. AI said, when Rose's husband sustains a deadly snake bite, their wagon train votes to leave them behind, camped next to a standing rock in the desert. Undaunted, Rose is determined to save her husband and the little life growing inside her. Facing the extreme weather, outlaws, and Apache warriors, Rose fights for their very survival. So a little better, a little more action-oriented, a little more direct. Okay, so it's pretty good. Second paragraph. Over a century later, Rosaria breaks free from a life of abuse and sets out into the desert, unaware of the connection she shares with Rose and the strength she will draw from it. AI writes, a century and a half later, Rosaria finds the courage to finally leave a life of abuse behind her. Determined to live life on her own terms, she sets out into the desert, unaware of the strength she will draw from a connection to the past she never knew existed. So pretty similar, but just a little more direct language, a little more action-oriented language. And then I wrote, let's see. But as the past and present collide, both women must confront their own challenges and fears to survive. An edge-of-your-seat, time-spanning thriller filled with courage, grit, and hope for a better future. AI wrote, an edge-of-your-seat, time-spanning thriller full of courage, grit, and a hope and a better future. So essentially it just took out the past and present collide. I might put that back in there, actually. Sometimes if it will actually add a comparison to a book that's already out there, a popular book. So for, let's see, this is one where I use the AI. So this last paragraph, the AI added, if you love Dan Brown's The Da Vinci Code, then you won't want to miss The Flamer Grenade, a heart-pounding thriller that blends science, mythology, and romance. I have a hard time writing that kind of thing and comparing myself to other authors. That's difficult for me to do, even though it's marketing. It's because it's kind of self-aggrandizing. But the AI added it, so I decided, let's go for it and see what happens. I recently updated it, and I'm hoping to kind of compare to see if I get better results with this one than I did with the one that I wrote that didn't have that. So we've got this, and now what I would do, copy this back to my original document, and then I'm going to play with it a little bit more. See if there's anything that's just not quite accurate, or maybe the AI doesn't quite get what I was trying to go for. So far looking at it, I think it's pretty good. And I'm going to have my editor look at it. But this is what happens through that AI. So you get, this is just a tool, like I said, and let's try just going just generic without the prompts and see what happens. Okay, so I'm in ChatGPT, and my prompt is approve on this book description for a fiction book to make it more compelling to a potential reader. And then I've got it, and let's see what happens. So connected through time, they say linked by fate. Do they possess the resilience and fortitude to endure? Where I said, will they have the strength and courage to survive? So it's just kind of changing the words around. But let's look at the paragraph. When Rose's husband sustains a deadly snake bite, their wagon train votes to leave them behind, camped next to a standing rock in the desert. It says, when Rose's husband falls victim to a deadly snake bite, their wagon train abandons them behind a solitary rock in the unforgiving desert. It's not bad. It's a little flowery. And that's what I find with AI. Tends to be a little flowery. Let's see. Undaunted, Rose is determined to save her husband and the little life growing inside her. Unyielding, why did you have to change that word? Rose vows to rescue her husband and the new life burgeoning within her. That's not better. Facing the extreme weather, outlaws and Apache warriors, Rose fights for their very survival. Confronting relentless elements, lawless bandits, and Apache adversaries, rages a battle. All right, that's... All right. A century and a half later, Rosaria finds the courage to finally leave a life of abuse behind her. A century and a half later, Rosaria summons the strength to break free from a life of torment. That's decent. Determined to live life on her own terms, she sets out into the desert. Unaware of the strength she will draw from a connection to the past she never knew existed. Determined to forge her own path, she ventures into the desert, ignorant of the profound connection to a past she never imagined. Again, just more flowery. It's not bad. An edge-of-your-seat, time-spanning thriller full of courage, grit, and hope in a better future. A riveting journey across time, brimming with courage, resilience, and the unwavering pursuit of a brighter tomorrow. All right, so there's good and bad here. What I might do is take all three, the one I wrote, the one the description generator wrote, and then the one from ChatGPT, combine the good parts, and come up with my final book description or blurb. This is a very important thing, and it really is. It's an art. So if you're having trouble as the author, ask someone else to look at it, and it's easier to ask someone who's read it before, but you can also send it out to your readers or your social media and say, hey guys, does this blurb look interesting to you? If you read this blurb on the back of a book, would you pick it up? Let's just see what they say. They may say, nah, that's not for me, or, I don't really understand what this is. What genre is it? And then you can take their feedback and fix it. And that's a great thing about social media and having followers is they're always willing to give you advice. They love giving unsolicited advice and especially solicited advice. So use that. Use that to your advantage to ask them what they think, get some feedback on it. It doesn't hurt. But again, you can always play with it and test and see how well it sells. All right. So that's how I do my book blurbs. Okay, everybody. That was our episode on writing a blurb. Again, there are tons of resources online to help you write a good one. One of those I showed you. The link is in the description. And I am an affiliate, so just to let you know that. But if you'd like to support me, the best thing you can do is subscribe, hit the notification button, share. You can also support me through my store. You can get this shirt there. Can you see it? Show your support for indie authors. There's shirts and stickers and other kind of book nerd funny stuff there. So let me know if you have any comments or suggestions or your experience writing book blurbs or with the tools that I've shown you today. Hopefully that helps. We'll see you next time on Self-Publishing Made Easy.